Hello, I'm DragonLoon, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Last time we got our coal power started with only 3 coal generators, but we will expand those as we need them. We also got our water set up and to be able to run the coal power. This time, we are going to work on getting more things automated and working on getting into steel so that we can get the Mark II miners, which takes steel and reinforced concrete rods or something along those lines. So, let's go ahead and get on into this. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is we actually want to also unlock the reinforced power Mark II, because that's going to give us our water turbine Mark I, which after looking at the mod sheet, the water turbine Mark I generates 100 megawatts of power, whereas the air turbines only generate 10 megawatts of power. So these are much, much better, so we do definitely want to try and use those. Unfortunately, in order to unlock that, we do need steel pipes and steel beams, which means we need to unlock the basic steel production. And looking down here, we need modular frames, which we're going to need for the foundries as well, which means we should probably automate modular frames. Alright. Give me just a moment. I've got to take a look and see what we need for that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so taking a look at it, we do need quite a bit to go, but what we want to do first is we want to make a few portable miners. We're going to make 3 of those. Excuse me, we're going to make 4 of them. Alright, and the reason that we're going to make 4 of them is because up here on the other side of the hill, we have 4 impure iron nodes that we're going to take advantage of. Alright, so now that we have those cleared out, what we want to do is we want to actually go back over to our base and lay down some foundations over there, just so that, once again, everything is nicely aligned. have those 4 miners set up on the impure iron nodes, and as you can see, a Mark 1 miner on an impure iron node only produces 30 parts per minute. And we have 4, which means that we can use Mark 1 belts to bring the resources in, and then merge them all onto a Mark 2 belt, and bring them back to the factory, and that will give us 120 iron per minute from just that area. So, now I just have to finish getting all the belts. Alrighty, so it did take me a little bit to get all of this set up, but I think I finally got it set up and working close to perfectly? Don't know. Alright, so way off here in the distance, I have those 4 impure iron node miners, Mark 1 miners, and they are producing a total of 120 iron per minute, which we have coming down this massively long conveyor belt. That is going into 4 smelters to produce, of course, 120 iron bars per minute, which I have all merged, and then going into a bunch of splitters. Now, I'm using the manifold or overflow method. I just seem to find that it works a little bit easier for me. It does take a while for everything to get up to 100%, and everything to fill up. But for me, I just like it. So I have the 120 iron bars being split into 2 1/4 ish assemblers, I think they are assemblers, making iron plates, making a total of 48 iron plates per minute, which I have all feeding over into those 2 assemblers. Those are manufacturers, those are assemblers. Sorry. Anyway, I have 48 iron plates feeding into 2 assemblers, making reinforced iron plates. The other 4 constructors, which is actually 3.2 constructors, are creating iron rods, and of course those are all being combined into one line and then split between I believe it's 2.5 constructors making screws. Again, the screws are feeding the assemblers to make the reinforced iron plates, and the rest of the iron rods are going over here to these other 2 assemblers, which are taking a portion of the reinforced iron plates and making heavy modular frames. And that's all being put into a storage unit. Now, eventually I'll have these other reinforced iron plates that I have off here to the side going down to the next floor and joining the other assembler that's making reinforced iron plates. But I haven't finished that yet, because I wanted to make sure that the entire production line was actually working the way it was supposed to. And the only hiccup that I really have right now is the iron rods, because they're at the end of the line, and so I have to wait for the assemblers that are making the iron plates to completely fill up. Now, because the iron rods are being produced slowly, that is slowing down the production of the screws, which is slowing down the production of the reinforced iron plates. So that's why you're seeing a backup there. But this system here is 100% efficient. I am producing 4 modular frames per minute and an additional 2 reinforced iron plates per minute using 120 iron ore per minute. So, we'll just have to wait for all of this to get up to speed 100%, and then we won't have to worry about it. Until then, we are producing a small amount of modular frames, which means that eventually, and it will take a couple of hours unless we hand make them, eventually we will be able to get the next milestone. And that milestone would be basic steel production. So let me make all those modular frames so that we can get this going, so that we can start figuring out how we're going to do our steel production. Alright, so there we go. I did end up making all of those modular frames by hand, but that's okay, because I had plenty of lesser components, meaning those components which you need to make them by hand. And this is just, right now, a lot quicker than the automation. So, there we go. And now we can make our foundries, which, like I said, need those darned modular frames. Oh, well. Alright, what did that get us once again? Oh, yes, that's right. That got us the ability to make steel ingots, which can be turned into steel beams and steel pipes, which is what we need for the project part 2. And we're gonna need a lot more automation. So, one thing I think we're going to definitely want to work on doing is increasing the amount of production that we do for each component and just supersizing it. But before we do that, I definitely want to get in here to tier 4 and go advanced steel production, because that's going to give us our minor Mark II and encased industrial beams and motors, because we then also want to get the Mark III conveyors, because that's going to allow us to process a lot more resources quicker. Tier 4 also unlocks our hypertubes, which I have seen being used a lot, and I cannot wait to get into that. But for today, I think that might be all. Let's check our power supply. We're getting pretty close to maxing that out. So let's go see about increasing it. Alright, folks, so I do apologize about the long delay, but what I was doing was I was getting some more water pumps set up to expand our coal power generation, and I did actually unlock that water turbine Mark 1, just so that I have the power to be able to power all the water turbines without putting them on the main power network. I then also, as you can see, hooked up our resource sink, because right now I'm producing an awful lot of concrete, which I really don't need, and we are still producing a lot of iron plates up in our reinforced iron plates production area that is just sitting there. So I went ahead and hooked both of those up and sent them into the resource sink so that we can start getting some tickets. However, let me go show you what I did when I tell you that I hooked up the water to a water turbine. Alright, so as you can see, I now have 4 water turbines over there. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and way back in the distance there's 4. Because each one of those takes 20 megawatts of power. In order to power both of those, I would need to add another 4 wind turbines, which there's really not that much space to do, so I went ahead and just threw in a water turbine. Again, that water turbine does make 100 megawatts of power, so if we go over here to one of our power poles, if I can find one, and we look at our power network, ooh, it looks like there's only 100 megawatts. That is really interesting, because that is supposed to be 140 megawatts. So let's go take a look at why. Looks like that water turbine is actually only producing 50 megawatts, so maybe the documentation for the mod is slightly incorrect. Regardless, we do still have enough power to be able to power all of our water pumps. So, that now gives us a total of 5 coal generators, which is producing for our factory a total of 465 megawatts between the coal power generators and the wind turbines. And that's with our reinforced iron plates production in full swing, our rotors in full swing, as well as our modular frames in full swing. So pretty much almost every piece of equipment, is producing, and it's still not drawing more than what we are producing in power with our coal power plants. However, I do believe that we are going to call it for a day, as there's not much more that I can do without the recording time going even longer than it already has. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like, as it does help me know what I need to improve on and what I don't need to improve on. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more of this really awesome content. Until next time, stay frosty out there.